Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best, most effective, most useful brain body tools so you can take better control of your brain and you can design better actions, better feelings, better thoughts to create better life experience and get better at designing your life experience instead of just settling for what is or what comes your way. There is so much more control that we think we have in life, like how we look at life and how we frame different situations, how we think about different circumstances or relationships or day-to-day happenings, and how we think about things will change what we feel, and that will change our actions. And that's the power of framing or learning how to control what you think about things. Question your thinking and then ask yourself, is this thinking useful? And if it's not, guess what? Your thinking is actually the fastest thing you can change. Today, as you probably guessed from the name of the podcast, we are talking about stress and different tools that you can use to address each stressed state. On my LinkedIn yesterday, I made a post about how stress, when we feel or when we say, I'm stressed, we all mean different things. And not only that, we mean different things in different situations. Stress is not just one thing. It's a mental, emotional, and physical state. It's a state of your nervous system that then triggers all these different biochemical reactions and different thoughts and emotions. But also, different situations will produce different kind of stressors and how we experience it, right? Feeling worried about what's coming today, or feeling overwhelmed with a lot of things on your plate right now, or feeling out of control, or just generally feeling anxious for some reason. Those are all different states. And feeling like you can't handle certain things, or feeling like a victim. It's also a sort of stress when you're in that state and something is bothering you. There is also physical stress. You might be going through a lot of workload and you might have to deal with a lot of things. You might have to spend a lot of energy on certain things, a lot more than you usually do. So all of this, there are different kinds of stressors. And in order to recover and to deal with and to resolve that stressed state, you need to have different tools for different situations. And I work with entrepreneurs, leaders, business owners mostly, and a lot of them don't like the word stressed, or they say, I'm never stressed. And the reason why they say I'm never stressed is because they always learned, most of the leaders, why they're leaders, because they learn how to take control of the situation. But that doesn't mean that things in life don't affect them. In fact, a lot of leaders go through burnouts and strokes and heart attacks and a lot of other things caused by stress. Not by, sitting there and feeling, oh my God, I'm stressed. What am I going to do? No, leaders usually don't stay in that state long enough to even notice that. But what happens is your nervous system is just always in that state that physiologically is called stress, when certain hormones like cortisol are upregulated continuously, when your blood glucose, your heart rate work in a certain way, when your breathing pattern changes. Those are physiological processes that are still a part of stress response. And whether you call it stress or something else, that doesn't really matter, because your nervous system still experiences stress. And we all need to learn how to almost tap or feel into the state of our nervous system and the state of our mind, our mental, emotional state, to release those more demanding states like stress. Why stress is so bad, folks? Because it changes how your body, how your cells use energy and prioritize resources. When we're in a stress state, what happens first and foremost, our cortisol is elevated, our blood sugar metabolism, our lipid metabolism, our blood pressure increases. Well, we're going to talk about different kinds of stressors, but that's what usually happens. And our energy systems work double shift. And this state is very demanding. Our immune system gets downregulated, our digestion and gut health will get downregulated. There is this fight or flight when we are ready to run, and your digestion immune system and things like your reproductive system gets less important for your body at that time. And that's why if you experience stress and you never address it, and your nervous system is always in that tensed state, prioritizing short-term survival over long-term thriving, like again, your reproductive system or your digestive system or your immune system, what happens is you start getting sick more often, your energy metabolism gets depleted, and again, your cells work double shift every single day, and a lot of mechanisms start to break down. That's what's so damaging about stress that is unaddressed for long periods of time. But again, let's get back to the idea that there are different kinds of stressors, things that stress you, and there are different kinds of effects that they're going to have on you. And there are different kinds of tools that are better for releasing these different kinds of stress. First of all, let's get back to the idea that we already talked about on this podcast, that how you think about any situation will also trigger and define how your body, how your brain, how your nervous system respond to that situation. What do I mean by that? Well, there is this fight or flight response that considered to be the most powerful, but also if you are in that state long-term, chronically, the most damaging for you. But there is also what they call eustress or challenge response, when it's still a stressor and a lot of processes get upregulated and your body works in a different way than when you come and relax. You get a jolt of cortisol, but your blood pressure, for example, it stays either normal or might even decrease. Your blood circulation towards your brain gets bigger, gets more abundant instead of going all to your limbs. Your blood pressure, again, I talk about blood pressure, your blood glucose circulations, all of these things, they act differently, and your cells act differently. And that eustress or that challenge response, first of all, it's different. Second of all, that can actually improve your health, improve your resilience, improve the strengths of your systems physiologically. But also that challenge response is activated by you believing that you have everything you need to address this situation. And of course, you'll still need to relax, and you still need to learn how to downregulate, how to have downtime in order for your body, for all of your cells to get rest, recover. But that challenge response is, for example, different. And again, the biggest difference is how you think about things. Whether you think that you're a victim and you cannot do anything about the situation. By the way, did you know that feeling out of control, that is one of the biggest stressors for your psychology, that actually also translates in this chronic state of the stress and tension, and that is very damaging to be in that state, feeling like what they call learned helplessness, when you feel you have no control and you cannot resolve the situation. That can actually lead to depression, and your dopamine is downregulated, and a lot of things are working not in the beneficial for you way, right? But then again, that is all in your brain. You can be in the shittiest situation and where most of the things are out of control. But if you find one thing that you can control, And it can be even cleaning your house and creating some order in your environment, cooking a meal, or just working on things that make a difference. I don't know, making sales calls or designing your business plan, like anything that you feel you are in control that can create a better environment for the situation to change or to get into, or to go into more beneficial for you direction, that will immediately change how your body and brain and nervous system work and how much stress physiologically you experience, even if you don't say, oh, I'm stressed. So first, the thing to understand is how you think about this stressor or whatever is happening in your life and business will change how your body, your nervous system, how you respond to it. And also, for example, how your brain comes up with new ideas. If you feel like a victim, then your brain basically kind of shuts down and just does what it usually does, like goes through habits, through patterns, going through the motions. When you feel like you're in control, however you establish that control, your brain starts to think creatively, connecting more dots in your brain, coming up with more brilliant, innovative solutions. Like, how cool is that? Just the way you think about the situation will change how your body and brain act and react to that. So understand that. But let's get back to some practical tools on what you do when you feel that, like discomfort or stressor. Well, first of all, physiologically, you can release that stress, a lot of it, and bring it down, bring your nervous system to a calmer state by doing a couple, 2-3 breath cycles of physiological sigh. Double inhale. So physiological sigh. You can Google it. Andrew Huberman, Stanford neuroscientist, has this reel. It's like, I believe 90 seconds or very short, right? Maybe even, 50 seconds, probably under a minute. So he has this video on YouTube Shorts. Please check it out and do physiological sigh first to, whenever you feel that tension, to release that from your nervous system, from your body, do the physiological sigh. I also recommend to all of my clients to do it before public talks, before important negotiations. If you're in a conversation with your loved one and the situation is getting heated, well, don't act emotionally and out of, knee-jerk reactions. Instead, right then and there, do a few breath cycles, and you're gonna remember about the long term, about the importance of building this relationship, about like what's truly important there. How do I want to show up instead reacting in this moment and then regretting it, right? So physiological sigh, very, very powerful, acting very fast, helping you to change the state of your nervous system, and that changes absolutely everything. The second thing to do when you're in emotional state, when things coming up and you feel, you're on getting to this edge and you're more tensed and emotional and just on edge, that's the best, description I can come up with, than you'd like to be. The second thing to do, to immediately switch from emotional response to more conscious control, coming up with the best decisions. And again, not acting emotionally, but instead figuring out a plan of action to resolve the situation. So the next step, after you do a couple of cycles really fast to physiological side, the next thing that will allow you to distance yourself from the situation and put it into your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain. The next step is label it, name it, describe it. So when the emotion starts coming up or it's inside of you, like ask yourself, what am I feeling? Am I feeling worried about, a situation X? Am I feeling out of control? Am I feeling not certain I can handle that? Am I afraid of the future that can happen? Am I sad? Am I angry? What is it are you experiencing? And the moment you start labeling it and describing it, you will start taking off that emotional charge. And in that calmer, less emotional state, you'll be able to come up with better actions and obviously have more chances to resolve the situation. So first, physiological side, then labeling, and then the third, also mindset tools, is frame it differently. You look at the situation that might be stressing you out or might be worrying you or it might be creating tension. And you ask yourself, what is good about the situation? What can be beneficial about the situation? It's called counterfactual thinking. So don't go for your default response that it's a stressor, it's bad, and I wish it didn't happen. Instead, embrace it and almost want it. Like, what is good about that? What can I learn from that? What benefit can I get from that? How can I make it into an opportunity? And that also immediately will switch your brain from solution seeking from in control state. And this, as I just gave you, those are very simple tools available to you anywhere, anytime. And they act very powerfully, not only on your psychology, but also on your physical response to stressor. So these three tools, I recommend to always get to them whenever any situation happens because they're so fast, so effective. And I recommend doing them exactly in this order because breath work is the most powerful way to change the state of your nervous system. Labeling is the most universal way to take off emotional charge of any situation. Labeling, I mean, describing, naming whatever is happening. And then framing, also very old strategy in all the coaching and all the transformational techniques. How you look at things basically will change the thing that you look at, and that ultimately will change your state, will change your actions, and will change the results that you get. Before we jump into a few other practical tools to deal with specific kind of stressors and worries and something that you might call anxiety, please do realize that the better physically you build up stress resilience, like physical stress resilience, the better your body and your brain, everything in your nervous system are able to deal with anything that comes into your life without creating a lot of negative health consequences or creating the state where you don't make your best decisions and you just get fatigued and tired and overwhelmed too easily. So the physical things that you can do to train your body, your brain, everything for resilience, for stress fitness, the physical things are very simple. Do training, something that makes your heart pumps faster, do strength training, all kinds of training that challenges you. So it will literally train your body and your nervous system and your brain for experiencing stress and still powerfully getting through it. Cold exposure and sauna, another way to make your body more stress resilient. So get into a cold shower, get plunging into some body of water, get into a sauna. All of this, first of all, they are stressors and they will activate stress response pathways and they will train your body and nervous system to get used to that and to be stronger enduring them. This will also help to train this quality of being in a stressed state physically, feeling like cortisol, adrenaline coming up and still staying calm and in control. And that's exactly what you need when there is a stressor. You want to stay calm, in control, and make best possible decisions. So training, cold, sauna will help you to train these qualities. So don't underestimate them. And then let's get back to practical tools, a few practical tools for resolving specific kind of stress that is more psychological. And I would say most of our stresses in our modern world have more psychological nature. It's what we think about the thing that creates the stress, not necessarily the thing itself. We're not being chased by lions and about to be eaten, right? We don't get a lot of this kind of stress. What causes the most stress is what's happening in our heads. So, number one, overwhelm. That's something that comes up for a lot of entrepreneurs I worked with, for myself often. And you get through it from time to time, sometimes more often, sometimes less often. But when you learn how to deal with that, it almost gets unnoticed that, well, I'm never overwhelmed. It's just because you deal with it well. So some people deal with that well naturally, some people don't. And sometimes you just need a reminder that you actually have a tool to deal with that overwhelm. So overwhelm, if we're talking about basic understanding of what it is, it's feeling that you have too much on your plate. Like there is too much to deal with and you're experiencing, this emoji of exploding head. It's like too much things to take care of, to resolve, to think of, to create solutions. It's like, I can't handle that, right? So overwhelm, what do you do with that? You break it down into small parts and only focus on one step at a time. Your focus, where you keep your focus, folks, it's a powerful tool, from Tony Robbins to Rich Davini and Navy SEALs to David Goggins to Emily Balsettis and neuroscientists from New York. All high performance learn how to control their focus so it benefits them. So when something is too big to think about, then break it down and only focus on the next thing that you can control. Rich Davini, former Navy SEAL commander, on a podcast I listened to a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about this duration pathway outcome neural network, so to speak, that you're going to create to only focus on the next step and to feel in control and to feel motivated, full of energy to deal with that. What it basically means is whenever you feel overwhelmed and like it's too much, choose the thing that you can control, the action that you know the duration of, how you're going to accomplish it and what's the result. And then focus only on that. And that will immediately reduce that overwhelm and you'll feel immediately in control and you feel more energy, motivation for doing this action. And while you're doing this action, you might just come up with solutions to everything that follows. Action creates more solutions than sitting and thinking about it ever will. So when you feel overwhelmed, just break it down, choose one thing that you can control right now and figure out like what's the outcome, what's the duration, how am I going to do that for this small thing, even if it's a very tiny step, like the next day or the next hour, right? Depending on the situation. So focus on just that and your overwhelm immediately will go down, like the feeling of overwhelm. The next stressor that often comes up is feeling uncertain, feeling like a lot of things are out of your control. It's kind of similar to overwhelm, but it's more like, I can't handle it. It's like all the things are falling apart and I can't control. You start feeling weak and like a victim, like, again, everything is out of control. You can't change the situation. So when you feel like that, what helps is, again, back to focus. Pick a thing that you can take full control, full ownership of. It can be cleaning up your office. It can be cleaning up your apartment. It can be making your bed, making your dinner, making your lunch, go and doing exercise and creating specific routine to accomplish, specific amount of reps, etc. Working on some presentation or your sales pitch and going and doing it. The most important part is focus on something that you can control and then go and do that. And that will help you to enlarge your circle of control, your circle of influence in whichever area. The most important thing at that moment is to establish control in some area, and that feeling will transfer to the rest of your day, to the rest of whatever you're about to do. And you're going to be much better equipped to deal with any situation once you're more in this more powerful state of feeling like you have agency and you are in control, right? So whenever you feel like a lot of things are out of control, figure out what you can control and do that. And sometimes it can be just arranging, again, your meals for the day. So remember that focus has a lot to do with that. The next one, when you feel like you can't handle things are too big, and you might feel like an imposter, or you just have, again, a lot of things and you feel like you're incapable or you don't have adequate skills or something else and you just can't handle it at the moment. and you're not sure, and you start feeling almost again like a victim. You start feeling weak and feeling incapable, not ready for this challenge. Well, when that happens, when you feel like you're not ready for the challenge ahead, it's too big, but you need to handle that somehow, what you do is you sit down and list or write down all the instances, all the situation when you thought it wasn't possible and you still figured out the solution. And in our lives, there are plenty of those moments already. No matter, again, as long as you're listening to this podcast, you had a lot of situations when you thought it wasn't possible and you found a solution anyhow. So sit down and start writing those things down. How you handle all these situations when you thought it wasn't possible and you still found a solution. That's how you got here. You're still here. So you got here. You resolved a lot of situations, and you can handle what's ahead of you. The universe works beautifully. You can always handle what's ahead of you. And so sit down and start writing down how you in the past handle all of these situations, and you'll immediately again start feeling back in control, capable and resourceful. And that resourceful state which will allow you to deal with the situation in a more effective manner. Sitting there and feeling incapable doesn't help anyone. So what helps is to get back that confidence feeling. And the way you do that, and you start taking account of all the situations in the past that you handled, even though you thought it wasn't possible. That being said, all of these tools are about switching your focus, increasing your control, realizing that you dealt with so many situations, realizing your resourcefulness, and focusing again on what you can control and all the things that you know how to do that will help you to deal with the situations. Besides that, if you're truly sitting there and you're stuck in that feeling and you feel like you need to do something to change first how you feel. Well, first of all, we already talked how certain things, training, cold, sauna, help you to train your body and nervous system for stress resilience, stress fitness, but they also do change your physiological state, the state of your nervous system in a very powerful way. So what's happening in your body changes dramatically so, and then your thinking and your emotional state changes with that. So whenever, you feel truly stuck and just things are not working, instead of sitting there and creating more pressure, go, release that pressure, open up that pressure cooker, go train, go do cold exposure, go do sauna, and things immediately will start shifting. The second thing that will help you to powerfully change your state, to help you to calm down, to relax, to help your nervous system and your brain get into more, creative, flowing, solution-seeking state. The next best thing that is very powerful, works for every human being, is to get into some nature. Now, if you're lucky enough and you have forests, you can jump into the car and drive to some, beautiful natural place. That's the best thing. Looking at sunrise, sunset, or just at the ocean, or being in a forest, or going for a walk, for a hike in the mountains will immediately shift your physiological state, the state of your nervous system. You'll immediately start feeling calmer. That stress state, it will immediately be down regulated, and you get calmer. You literally, nature changes your state on all levels. So you get calmer, you get more focused, you get more creative and proactive. So many good things. So nature is a pill that you can take whenever you need to change your state in a calmer, a creative, more peaceful, so to speak, relaxed state. So nature. Again, if you're lucky, get full immersion. If you're not that lucky, you can also go to an urban park. You can just sit by the tree and look at its, leaves and branches, and look into the sky and look into the sun. This piece of nature, by the way, believe it or not, even if it's artificially created, like listening to sounds of birds or rain or river, or looking at the picture with beautiful natural landscape, that also works. A couple of things. One, when you look far into the horizon, that also changes the state of your nervous system to a more calm, relaxed state, comparing to when you're staring at your phone or your computer close up. So do change your gaze, look far away, and in nature that usually happens automatically. And the second thing that, nature, you can go full immersion. That is the biggest effect. But then you can also go into nature in the small ways that are in urban park, by the tree outside of your house, or just look into the sky, into the horizon from your balcony, or for that purpose, have some plants. Or if you have a pet, then play with them. All of that, pieces of nature. There are different patterns and different ways the nature landscape is structured naturally, and that helps your nervous system to get into a different place, right? But also think about horizons, open skies, all of that very positively affects the state of your nervous system. And that's about it. That's what I wanted to share with you today, guys. Also, I already mentioned move your body. That changes the state of your nervous system. And after that, how you think and the emotions you experience. So use your body, use your focus, use nature. All of these tools, please re-listen to this podcast to remember all of them. And they're like your toolkit. Today I described the most effective, important, the most usable ones that, again, you can powerfully use every day to unload the stress from your nervous system, from your physiology, so it doesn't bring you down the road, right? For a lot of leaders, it's like, I'm not stressed, I'm handling it. Yes, you are, but you also are on the verge of burnout because you never release that stress physiologically. And a proactive, good way to release that stress physiologically: train, do cold shower, do sauna. Well, that's more of a training of your stress fitness. Go into nature, breathe, label things, describe things, change your focus, right, to things that you can control. Remember all the things that you handled in the past. Your focus changes a lot of things. And then keep going, one step at it, one step after another, one challenge after another, getting into a stressful situation, but then handling and releasing it. And you can go unstoppably forever till you get the success vision that you want. And that's about it, folks. I hope you found this podcast episode very useful. The most important thing is, of course, using these tools to get the effect and be more effective in life, and also enjoy your life more, right? Play hard, work hard. So in order to do that, do it the right way. So work hard, but then release it, shift your focus. So use these tools. Please, folks, do share this podcast with at least one another person, and that will make a huge, change in my day. That will mean a world to me. So share this podcast with more people so we change the world together. And what else? Have a beautiful mid of the week. I'm speaking today at Wellbeing at Work Summit about exactly these tools that I shared with you today. That was a good practice. So thank you for staying for it with me. Use the tools, get better, share, have an awesome day, and create the exact life experience that you want. Talk to you soon, guys, and have a beautiful day.